Hey folks, Dwayne from Grandpa's Garage, little garage that could. Welcome back. This is the second episode for doing the louvers on my 34 terraplane conversion project, and thought I'd bring you back. When we last left off, I was playing around and getting these louver panels ready to be welded together and cleaned up. We got a little bit of cleanup left to do, but I'll bring you in and show you what I've got so far. And all the panels that I was going to be using here today are mostly done. I want to do a quick bit of sanding and cleaning on them, and then of course we'll use some of our fast etch to treat them, leave that zinc phosphate coating on there again, and then make sure they're all prepped properly. Once they're prepped properly, then we'll hit the backside with some primer. Once that's dry, then we can install them on the hood of the coupe, and then we can shoot some primer on top of the hood of the coupe with the louvers. Really anxious to see this together. I think it's going to work out real nice, and I'm glad you came back to share this journey with me. So I'm going to bring you in a little closer so you can see what I'm doing on these panels. Hang on. Okay, so you can see my panels. These were two pieces before, and of course we wanted the full length, and I want to be able to join them so that one solid piece when they go on the hood. Going to look really good. The thing I decided I want to do with this, because this is, again, it's more intended as a visionary tool, is we'll get this all on there. I'm going to put them on with rivets because I thought, well, I had put screws on there, some self-tapping screws, but they've got fairly big heads, and I thought, well, you know what, if we put the rivets on, then at least it's fairly low profile, and I think that should work out pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish up a little bit of sanding on here, and then we can start with the fast etch to treat the surface. All right. Actually, hang on a second here. There, I just wanted to check the grit of the paper that I'm using, and it's a 180 grit, and it's a really nice paper, and that'll give me good adhesion on the metal for the primer to attach itself to. Now the thing, of course, if you want to be having louvers, you're going to be doing an awful lot of sanding, but that's part of the price of having louvers, I guess. And I'm pretty okay with that. Really looking forward to having these louvers done. Again, like everything that I'm doing on the coupe right now, is rough body work and everything. All right. Well, let's get these guys. There's a couple spots where where I had to weld the panels together that, you know, they're not perfectly finished at this point. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to be keeping these louvers on there. I was talking originally in the first video about building a louver press, in which case if I do that, then I won't be using these. So for now, I just want to get them on there. We'll get them all primed up, and that'll look pretty darn slick. It'll certainly give me a great visual for the overall effect that I'm going for. Now, the one thing that I noticed was that these are a shorter louver. These are actually a 3-inch louver, and my original intention was actually to go with a 4-inch louver. So I want to see how these play out on here, and if they look like they're going to fit the bill. Because the hood itself is fairly long, fairly tapered, 4-inch might be a little bit too big, but for now, we'll put these on. It'll give us our overall effect, and yeah, we can just ponder that for a little bit. And for me, it's a visual thing, so it's just nice to be able to get a good solid picture of. Alright, I'm just going to get a container of fast etch and lay these things out here and start treating them. I am going to treat both sides. Just because I thought, well, if they do stay on there, then that part's already done. One of the things that I generally like to do when I'm doing any kind of paint work is have at least a fairly decent clean surface. So if you've got any kind of masking paper or even newspaper, technically would work. And then yeah, like it just keeps it a little bit cleaner, and you're trying to eliminate the amount of dust and so on that's going to go in there or into your paint. So let's, on the back side, I'm again figuring that I want to treat it as well. If it ends up being more of a permanent arrangement, then I want it properly protected. The other thing you notice I'm using is foam brush. I like to use those quite a bit, actually. They, you know, they're extremely inexpensive, and very handy for this kind of stuff. And when you're done, you just pitch it out, or you can wash them out, depending on the use, I guess, and how much they get worn when you're using them. So fairly quick and easy doing it like this. It's not an exact science, I guess you can say. So now if you followed in my last video, I was working on these was it this? No, it was not this. It was the trying to remember. Anyways, when you use a fast etch, the idea of the whole thing is to put it on there, keep it wet with the fast etch for roughly 10 minutes, and then once you're done, you take it and wash it down, which seems kind of contrary, but it's the way it works. Is you wash it down with water. The process of using the fast etch, as it does its thing, it leaves a zinc phosphate coating, which protects the metal from moisture. Alright, so we're going to leave those for a few minutes, and maybe I'll turn you to the hood, and we're going to do approximate layout while we're waiting for this stuff to do its thing. Hang on, folks. It's amazing how much dust gets on here. Alright, so what I'm using is 2-inch masking tape as a spacer from the center rib here to the start of the first louver, or louver panel I should say. Alright, so now, next thing I want to do is I've got a couple of marks on here that I made all previously, which were to help me line up the panel by the louvers. So one of the things that I want to ensure when I do this is that all of these, this side and this side, are going to line up. I want all the louvers to line up as close as I can possibly get it. There will be a stagger on the second panel, which go further back, just because of the contour at the cowl on both sides. It'll be like that. But then we want to get the consistent pattern laid up on here, and side to side they're the same. So now, just a moment. There, I gotta sharpen my pencil here. I guess I was using it and wore it out a bit. Alright, so from the tape, each panel is 5 inches wide. So we're gonna lay it out. You know what, I think I'm gonna get my ruler. It's a little easier to manage. There we go. Alright, so now I can go here, about 5 inches. And 5 inches. Okay, so now, next thing I'm going to do, I got my basic line there. I've got some 3/4 inch tape. That now gives me the lines side to side for the louvers. And it's just a matter of making the offset. Right, let's double check this here. Oops. Now previously, I had made, pardon my English, a couple lines on here. I'm just going to grab a square because I want to make sure that this is exactly square. We'll go across right to the other hood as well, the same other side rather. Now it's fairly critical to try and get this as close as you can to square. You know, you're not going to get it absolutely perfect, but now because there's a slight gap in the center here, you want to try and line your square up to the hood. So you got to do a bit of double checking. So take an exact same measurement at different points and back. So we're at 7 3/4 on this side of the tape, and back to the cowl is 5 3/8. Okay, so now we're going to go double tape on here. I guess the one thing I should have thought about is the position of this of the coop here. A little bit awkward to be getting around. So one of the things that I didn't mention is when I'm trying to lay out some lines, if you want to try and get them fairly straight, one of the things you can do is don't try and twist your tape while you're doing it. You just hold one end, pull the roll over, and drop it down. Hold, like just holding an even pressure on it, and then that way the line keeps almost perfectly straight. Otherwise, if you try and make a line and put your tape to it, it takes a lot longer, and it's not as straight. Check everything. Inches. 5 inches. Okay. And then we come over to this side. Go back to the cowl. Okay. Again, good to double check all your measurements and where you're going. A little bit out on my line here, so we're going to adjust it. Okay, I think we should be just about ready to flip those louvers over and put some fast etch on the other side. So I'll make my way over there and we'll get that done. All right, looking good. They're still wet. It's been definitely over 10 minutes. What you'll notice with the fast etch when it's sitting, in particular on fairly clean new metal, you don't tend to see as much change in it. When you have rusty metal, then of course it makes a difference because it's the rust that it's trying to affect. So this fast etch is a bit of an acid base. It's not a super powerful acid base, but it doesn't need to be. But you know, I've been using this for many years, and you know, in some ways I should probably be wearing gloves or something on it, but for the most part I'm not actually coming into contact with it. So that's kind of a choice on your part whether you decide to glove up or whatever. There's it's not a very strong acid in the sense that the aroma of it is not very strong, so that's always a good thing. It doesn't hurt to have good ventilation in your shop anyways when you're doing something like this. In particular, when it comes to the priming, I'll definitely be having my exhaust fan going, and at the very minimum I should be wearing a my N95 mask. Probably not a bad idea to actually put on the my proper mask for spraying. All right. I should show you. This is the primer that I'm using. It's made by Dominion Sure Seal Limited, which is a Canadian company that has been providing auto body supplies and paints and so on for a very long time. It's professional quality. This one is a 3-in-1 primer, and so you can buy an acid etch primer and a regular primer and a high build if you want, or for something like this I just use a 3-in-1, which actually has a bit of an acid base in it, so it will etch itself. You put it on nice and wet, and when it's cured, it's very good, but it's very sandable, and you can still go over top if anything else that you may want to be doing with it. It's not an epoxy, so it's not got a catalyst to it, but it is a kind of a lacquer-based product. Yeah, I just find it super handy. These cans actually, they do have a fairly good solids content, so the can like this will go much further than, you know, you can get your dollar store. I shouldn't say the name of any kind of a store, but you can get cheaper brands. You pay now or you pay later. Personally, I prefer to use a professional quality. It may be more expensive, but the end of it all, you use one of these cans or you use 3 of the others. So you pick. Yeah. So then we'll give these things just a little bit longer. Again, because it's new metal, or newer metal, I guess, it doesn't take that long for the fast etch to work on it. So one of the other things that I did here before we started videoing is I put a couple layers of this paper down. Just makes cleanup a lot easier, and depending on what you're doing, I find that sometimes if I got a few layers of paper on here, if the one gets kind of messed up, then you just peel off the one layer and you already got another layer in place. But because this stuff is so fluid, then likely I'll have to put a few more pieces on after this stuff is finished, which won't be a whole lot longer. So maybe what I'll do as well, I'm waiting for this stuff to finish off. I'll cut a few more sheets, and then when the time comes, I can just pull off these sheets that are messed up and then move on to nice fresh sheets. Okay, I'm going to bring you around, folks, just to show you something else here that I've got. Let's take this up and bring it back a bit. So here's something that I set up quite a while ago. I have the different size paper rolls. Super easy setup. Basically a couple of wood brackets with a dowel in between. The dowel, just remove a screw and you can pull the dowel out, put a new roll on. And I got the different size papers. Usually what I do, you can see on this one roll, there's quite a bit of dust on there. You can blow it off, but usually for what it's worth, I just bring it down and cut it off. So the other thing that I've done is I've installed a couple different bars. And these are just whatever you happen to have that's decently straight. And then when you go to cut your paper, you can just put a utility knife and cut through the paper and use this as a guide. And it cuts a nice straight line. And yeah, this thing gets a lot of use, in particular when I'm doing a lot of painting. But just a handy little thing to set up. could be probably more compact. I don't really need two of the same size rolls. But this roll here actually is almost done. So I can change it out to adapt to whatever I need. I've got another big roll of paper that'll be coming up here once this roll's done. It's not the same width, but it doesn't have to be. But just an idea for people when you're working on stuff like this. I just find that I'm using paper a lot, so just handy to have it. Easier rather than trying to put it on the floor and cut it with some scissors or whatever. You're just fighting everything. This just makes it a whole lot easier in the long run. Alright, so these louvers now, they've been sitting long enough that I'm just going to take them outside. I got a garden hose and we'll rinse them all off and then bring them in and dry them off. But because I'm going to be changing my paper out, take all this other stuff off. Alright, I'll be back. A couple at a time, I guess. Well, rather than looking at a table while I'm doing this, won't be long. I'm just going to give you a little better view here. We got, finally, at long last, we're getting some spring weather. It's I think it's around 16 degrees right now. Finally nice. Yeah. I'll just go rinse these things off, and I'm able to actually, as they're the water is draining off, they can dry out in the sun, and I can get my table ready again. So we'll be back and forth a little bit. this actually. Alright, well, rather than mucking around with this, let's just put a nice fresh stuff on here. That's good to go. I'm going to get everything ready so that once the panels come back, I'll wipe them down with a little bit of lacquer thinner and some lint-free rags, and then we can spray a little bit of primer. Cool. That's all ready. Next. I think kind of one of the worst things in doing stuff like this is if you haven't used something for a long time, is remembering where the heck it is. But I got to dig out some rivets. I got to grab my rivet gun, drill, and 1/8 bit so that I can be putting these things together. So one of the things I'll bring your attention to here is these guys here. These are packages that come from Princess Auto. Harbor Freight probably carries much the same thing, and basically it's all 1/8 double end bits, drill bits. Super handy. You know, you use them as long as you need to. When they start wearing out, you use the other end. Once that's done, throw them out. Put them into your scrap bucket. Now, because these are not really a structural piece, they are purely cosmetic. We don't need any great big working rivets to hold these things in place. Basically, the thickness of the two metals and the extra for the head for the rivet to flatten out against. And likely what I'll do is actually, well, we'll see how it plays out here. It would be nice to have it all completely riveted down so that we can just go over with a primer, because I'd like for everybody to see the louver set in primer. Well, I think that should give us enough for what we need to do for time being. While I'm waiting for that stuff to dry, I guess doesn't hurt to keep looking. I got a couple different sizes in here, so that's why I gotta fish around. That's why it's Grandpa's garage. We don't do things perfect here. Have fun and still get lots of stuff done. But if you're looking for a garage that does things perfectly, you might want to change channels. Alright, I think that'll definitely give us enough for what we're going to be doing. Alright, so then let's step outside and grab our panels. They've been drying in the sun now for a bit, and we'll see. We may have to dry them off a little more. Okay, so inevitably you do get a slight bit of changing color. That's kind of a flash rush, you might say. So I just take a Scotch-Brite, go over it, give it a quick once over. Again, this is going to be something that it doesn't have to be perfect. Once we put the primer on here, the primer itself is definitely got an etcher in it, so that'll help to seal things up. And The coop won't be going anywhere where I have to worry about moisture for some time. I will be moving it in the fairly near future. Mainly because I've got my 1950 Chevy truck that I have to bring into the shop to get some work done. And hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll be bringing my wife's car, her 74 Volkswagen Beetle, home, and get it all ready for cruising season as well. Just wiping things down with a little bit of lacquer thinner. You can use acetone or whatever kind of prep sol that you might want to use or you have. This just happens to be what I've got. Now there shows you what you're pulling off these things when you wipe them down. Very pretty important thing to do any kind of paint work that you want to do. Clean one to the back. Yeah, so that, when I put this out in the sun after rinsing them off, that was in real time that I did it. So that was only about 5 minutes, and everything was perfectly dry when I was done. Gotta love finally getting some sunshine here. Our spring compared to most was quite cold and yeah, overall just kind of miserable actually. It's not a great spring this year. Some years we get it where it's super nice. Last year we had it was way too hot and dry, and unfortunately ended up with a bunch of wildfires that caused a lot of damage to a lot of properties, and there was some loss of life, which is very extremely unfortunate. So, you know what, if you think you just want to go out and burn off some brush or whatever, try and use some common sense when doing it. If there's a wind going and you want to get this all done, to get another job off your list, maybe think twice about it. There's no need for fires starting like that where it gets out of control on you, which happens very easily. And as we've seen here in Lac de Bonnie last year, there was a couple that lost their lives, and it's not the story you'd write for anybody.
What are you breaking?
Hey, how you doing? Hang on a moment there.
What's that?
These are louvers.
4.
I'll show you. Give me a second here.